first, I think the chair is.
The first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is your first meeting back.
Okay.
You know what it is? I have to just like remember that I actually, was gone for some period.
Sure, but I need this,
Okay,
so
no,
it can't be.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Besides, I don't do much talking, so. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We have, before we proceed with our calendars, we have two members of the public wishing to provide public comment on today's calendar, so we'll do them first. The first member of the public is Nellie, I'm trying to see, McKay. I apologize if I pronounce it incorrectly. Nellie, McKay. She will be commenting on item number 7. My members of the public, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Nellie McKay, and I'm from 2645 3rd Avenue, Patterson House. We have a big problem there. Number one is ramps. See, it went into effect a long time ago, but HUD never put the ramps there. In 1965, they were supposed to put ramps, fix the locks, drug elimination program. And first I let you, I will start off with this. I spoke to the man about the ramp. I have seniors is in prison in their own home because they're in the little bucket. They can't get out to go to church. They can't ask their children to take off and take them to church or come on a Sunday. It is not fair. The seniors pay their rent, and I think we should have a ramp. A law said ramp. Now they don't have to put, people have to put ramps at churches now. And I'm going to go back, because I have to. 1965, Howden got 3 grants, $68 million. Now that was supposed to give ramps, drug elimination program, fix locks, and security. We didn't get that. We still have the old locks. $6.6 million unspent from a $15 million grant in 1992. $14.2 million unspent from $15.5 million in 1993. $38 million 1994 unspent. Housing Authority claimed $4 million of 1992 amount is unspent. $14.1 million in 1993 are still in the coffee. Now, if they had that kind of money, why didn't we get the locks? Why did we get security? What we're getting now, the money, that's the money that we were supposed to get then. I've been in housing. All my children got 4- and 5-year college education. I don't see nothing wrong with housing. I love my apartment. I was the first one started a garden there, and a veggie garden. So we turned it into flower garden. I sit out in the sun and raise $59 this summer to give Marie, because we only get $40. That's a big garden, to buy flowers to make it pretty. I was taught, I came from a family of 10. It's yours, keep it clean. If it's someone else, keep it clean. And this is what I've been trying to do in housing. Now, I have a sign I put up. I have 9 buildings that don't have ramps. See, I'm not begging, I'm pleading, please start putting ramps and housing authority. Garbage. See, the tenants is not paying any attention to the manager. They get the papers, they throw them back out. When do we get the papers? You all need to send letters from 250 Broadway or Water Street, letting the tenants know. Incinerator is there. Put the little bags in there. I went to church Sunday morning, I spoke to the guy. When I came back, 5 mattresses. I had this much space to walk to get to my apartment. This is not right. Those mattresses stay there until Monday morning. Last week, it was couches. I called planning board one because I'm a member. Mr. Lawson had to call, and that's how we clean it up. We need more men. Friday, I started out to the store, and the guy's standing there. What are you waiting for? He didn't even have a mop to mop the building. The superintendent had to bring a mop from another place. This is not, every building is supposed to have a mop. Every building is supposed to have a disinfectant to clean the mop and mop the building. I go to BJ's and I get that large pine. Oh yes, I put it in the elevator. I give it to the guy because I live there. I want to see the place looking good. The elevator was put in Thanksgiving. Some of the paper's still on it. When I spoke to the superintendent, oh, we don't have paint to clean the elevator down and paint it, the elevator door. The paint, some of the paint is still there. You need to send letters to the tenants. And the only way HUD is going to solve this problem, hit the tenants in their pocket. You find the name, pay a fine. And the tenants wouldn't do that. The man cleaned the building. Jose was there, but they moved it. My floors shine just like that desk, because he did it. Time he cleans up in the front, people put garbage out. And I don't think it's fair to the guy. We need more help there for the guys, because you're working, a lot of guys, they work so hard there. And I'm asking, please send letters to the tenant. I just came from the South, housing authority. You can't throw garbage out the window. And it should be here in New York. See, if the manager sent a letter, they probably don't even read it. Sometimes they don't even read the letter that comes in the rent, or they look at the rent. So I'm asking you all to start the ramps in the building. I just made 86 Monday. And thank God I'm still able to move. I came down on the bus this morning. Because I see garbage, I clean it up. You know how many mops I bought out of my pocket to try to help keep it clean? And it's not fair. Now, I put up a sign. Dear tenants, this is our home. Please keep it clean. I would like to see this building, the #1 in housing, 2645 3rd Avenue. May God bless you. Thank you. This is the sign I put up.
Could you tell us your name again, please?
Nellie McKay, and I'm a former state committee woman from the Bronx.
Nellie McKay.
Thank you,
And
Ms.
if
McKay.
anyone wants to see some of the buildings, I made a copy. You can have this copy. Would you please? And I would like to know, would you please, my phone number is 718-292-4946. And I would like to know when y'all would think about putting in, starting the ramps in housing. And one more thing, and I'm gonna sit down.
Thank you.
2018 housing, I need $17 billion to overhaul the housing authority.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you
Ms.
very
McKay. You
much.
have a good day. Our next member of the public wishing to provide comment is Mr. James Myers, and he will be commenting on item number 5. Mr. Myers?
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Myers.
My address is 325 East 143rd Street, Bronx, New York. This was 10451. What I'm concerned about is 5 topics. 1, grass needs to be cut and passes. If you go around it, you see it's like a jungle. It needs to be cut. Number 2, the buildings in Patterson haven't been pointed in 35 years. It leaks. We have a building, a new project across the street, which is Mud Haven. They have done it just about every so often. They point their building, but Patterson is one of the oldest projects in the Bronx. But yet still, we can't get it pointed, nor do we have it steam cleaned. The building hasn't been steam cleaned. 2, okay, well, number 3, which is lighting in Patterson. The interior and the exterior of the building need lighting. You cannot check those buildings for the outside of Patterson building when it's, at night. You have to check it at night, not in the day, because the light is cut on during the night. Okay, the interior lights, which is in the lobby, are very dark. We don't want another thing like the pink housing where an officer come in and get wasted, or a kid get wasted in it. So we would like to have a little brighter light, something that the tenants can see. When you get off the elevator, it's dark. Okay, number 5, which we would like to also talk about, is Patterson don't even have a good community center. We need a community center. Everybody else has new community center. Patterson don't even have it. We're still in that old basement. Okay, when it rains, it's flooded. So what we need is a community center. And I think it's time. All the rest of the new development are getting community centers. Patterson is not getting nothing. Patterson is just barely, I think it's set up for a failure. At one time it was a successful project. Now it's not. It is bad. And it needs either someone from the administration need to come out and give a surprise appearance or visit to see what's going on. Because definitely it needs help. Patterson is dying because no one is trying to help it. The administrators, perhaps you are doing it, but somewhere down the line it's lacked because no one is really doing the job there. Okay? When you have in my building, when we have someone to really clean it and it start cleaning it up, okay, when this building start getting back on its feet, they'll take that individual that was cleaning that particular building out and they'll take him and put him somewhere else. But yet still, when that building was getting up and started, they take the individual out. Like they don't want that building to succeed, or they don't want that particular project to succeed. Okay? When I spoke briefly on the grass that needs to be cut. Also, somewhere down the line, they recently planted 2 trees right on the same side of Patterson, which is in 325, right on the side of 325. Okay, right in that same area, there's a dead tree. Why would you plant 2 trees with a dead tree? Wouldn't you eliminate that dead tree? The structure is completely dead. Wouldn't you take down that dying tree and then put up the 2 trees? But they didn't do that. It's somewhere down the line, Patterson is not working up. The association that's working with them is not doing the job. And that's bad. Now, we need something for the kids around it. We have nothing. Nothing for our kids to do. We had 2 gentlemen that painted the basketball court because housing wasn't doing nothing for the basketball court. The basketball court was ran down. So these guys got together and 2 brothers got their own money and painted the basketball court and built blackboards there. That's because Housing didn't do it. The tenant association didn't help. No one. These guys got their own money and said, well, hey, we're going to fix up our thing. They painted the whole thing. But this is what someone from this office need to come out there and check on Patterson and see what's going on. We're talking about a dying community, a dying project. Because if you look at it, you say, well, hey, this was once a great development. But yet still, it's like Rome, it's going down. What was once successful is not any longer. And I think that we need to do something about it right away. Because not unless it's geared for Patterson to be, you know, how would I say, chaos, not to be development, not a good development.
Thank you,
Because
Mr.
that's the
Morris.
only development that's going down in that community. Mount Haven is built up. Gradually, every time that something need to be fixed, they fix it. Patterson, every time that something need to be fixed, they go and fix it. Okay?
Mr. Morris,
We have,
can you wrap up your comments,
Oh,
please? You've
definitely.
exceeded your 3
Okay.
minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
right, we have a boiler that was in our project for 30 years. Every so often, they send a donkey boiler. They never hooks the donkey boiler up. We don't get steam nor heat that well in the winter. Nor do we get, even in the summer, we don't get hot water that well. But yet still, every so often, they'll send a donkey boiler like they're doing something. You spend millions of dollars just to rent a donkey boiler. Why can't we get a boiler to go in Patterson? We need it.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Yes.
325 East 143rd Street.
143rd.
Yes,
That's
325
Patterson
no,
Houses.
325 East
That's what I said.
130.
That's what I said.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With you and
I enjoy
others.
it.
And
Okay.
if you're not in the right picture,
Mr.
you don't
Myers.
get nothing.
Chair, that concludes our public comments portion, and we may proceed with the regular calendar, excuse me. We will start with a motion to adopt the minutes of the meeting held on June 24th.
Motion.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Thank you. We may proceed now with the chair's report.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for the members of the public for their comments. I think that the issues that were addressed there, you'll see that obviously are long-standing challenges that face not only Patterson, but certainly all of our developments. And what we have been engaged in over the last 15 months is developing a plan with the support of this administration to try and address them. So moving along, we have, where am I? Just to remind everyone, on May 19th, we were pleased to stand with the mayor to release Next Generation NYCHA. I am pleased to announce that 2 days later, we released Isabel Oyekemi Strozier. She's perfect timing. But Next Generation NYCHA, as you recall, was organized around sort of 4 key goals. One is short-term and long-term financial sustainability, rebuilding and preserving public housing, engaging with our residents and developing new models of resident leadership, and becoming a more efficient and effective landlord. All items and themes of which we heard this morning. So just a quick update on some portions of the plan. We were very pleased that the mayor, as you know, reversed the 2014-15 pilot payment, which NYCHA has paid since 1949. We are the only affordable housing owner in the city that has paid property taxes. And this administration reversed that long-standing policy, not only for the 14-15 year, but for the 15-16 year. So we no longer are paying payment in lieu of taxes to the city of New York. And so those resources were able to come back into the authority, helping to address our still $98 million annual budget deficit for this year. So while a huge step forward and reversing a really unfair practice for the authority, and a very good down payment on helping us address our budget deficit, we still have a lot of work to do. But really a big watershed moment in the history of the Housing Authority. We have, as far as rebuilding and the rebuilding goal, we have, the mayor made an announcement of committing $300 million, $100 million over the next 3 years to focus on our worst roofs. So issues of pointing and leaks, et cetera, are rampant throughout the authority, and our data suggests that when you actually replace the roofs, you see a 60% decrease in work orders related to paint, tile, and mold. So when you look at the ability to identify scarce resources, you invest them where you're going to get the biggest impact. We have started deploying the first tranche of that $300 million commitment in Queensbridge houses. That's a picture of that work already underway, and there are 6 other buildings that will begin shortly thereafter. And again, this is a 3-year commitment from the city. We remain hopeful that our partners in Albany will be organized and also recognize the importance of investing in things like roofs at the housing authority, so we can address issues of leaks that too many people are experiencing. So we look forward to working with them on their plan. We also just released the first affordable housing requests for proposals for our next gen sites, Millbrook, Ingersoll, and Van Dyke. We had more than 160 people attend the pre-bidders conference, which is an opportunity for the development community to learn more about the RFPs, to ask staff questions. Tremendous interest, and was so much so that we had to schedule a second session to accommodate all the people. The fire marshal was not happy with us, so we had to actually create two events. So those RFPs are due September 30th. We, as you know, will begin engagement in other sites, not only the affordable sites, but the sites where we will be doing both affordable and market rate development. So this is going to be a very significant part of our next generation NYCHA plans, and we will ensure that we can keep this group and the public updated on not only outreach efforts, but any developer selections, which obviously this board will ultimately approve or deliberate on and hopefully approve. We were earlier this summer, I was pleased to stand with the mayor and Secretary Julian Castro to announce the $100 million energy performance contract that we will receive from HUD. As part of that, we issued an RFP to work with an energy services company that will actually be the entity that will help facilitate that work in more than 80 developments around the city. We expect to be selecting a final vendor later next month and at the end of August, thus moving forward, keeping on track with beginning work sometime this time next year. Very, very pleased to announce that we have signed all of the letters of understanding with FEMA, finally, 3 years and counting, which allows us to begin the process of actually taking some resources from the federal government to allow our folks to begin to put out contracts for the work in the more than 35 Sandy affected developments. So a pretty significant milestone. I'll be happier when we have actual shovels in the ground, but this is tremendous and represents a ton of work by Ray Ribeiro, the Sandy team, and our law department. So just a tremendous amount of work here, and only the beginning, frankly. Last week, I think that was last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, we stood with the mayor and the HUD secretary, to announce a pretty significant investment in broadband access for the housing authority. we recognize that broadband and digital access is no longer a privilege or a luxury. It really is a necessity for families, especially everyone, but especially young people who are in school and people who are transitioning back into the workforce. And so the mayor announced the city commitment of $10 million for some 16,000 NYCHA residents, in addition to the support that will come from NYCHA being selected as one of 27 national grantees to participate in the HUD Connect Home program. Again, this is one piece of the safe, clean, and connected vision of the Housing Authority. We have a ton of work to do on ensuring that our buildings are safe and clean, but connected is also an important goal and vision as well. Within our goal around engaging in a new way with residents, both from services as well as an engagement perspective, we were pleased to announce a grant from Citibank to work with partners around access to greater employment opportunities, financial counseling, and entrepreneur training. And we are working with our partner in Long Island City, Urban Upbound. I think many of you know Bishop Taylor. And so really building on a long-standing relationship there, and a model that we would like to hopefully see in other parts of the authority as well. On the issue of services, we worked very closely with DYCD and the Department for the Aging, led by Ms. Natalie Rivers and Melanie Hart, to essentially to do the final transition of 24 community and senior centers that have shifted to those agencies as the experts in the provision of those services. And we're pleased to say there was no interruption in service, nor was there any interruption in employment for the staff that were there, who are now employees at those respective agencies. And at some point, we are going to come back in the fall to this body to talk more about our emerging thinking around resident services and engagement as part of the Next Generation NYCHA plan. That is my report. Happy to answer any questions.
I did want to make a comment, and speaking to one of the district leaders, the $10 million that the mayor put in as his part of the broadband, the comment that I got is that they thought it should have been used for roofs, and I had to go through an explanation of how we were one of 27 cities and 5 developments, and it's for the young people to kind of even the playing field. And afterwards, she said, thank you for that explanation. So maybe if we explain to people, you know, a little more about what it's about, they won't feel, I want to say, resentment toward the $10 million that the mayor appropriated.
Well, and I would also say, and couple that, and thank you for doing that, couple that with the investment that the city has made and is making around roofs, right? So that's $100 million this year for the next 3 years. So that's, you know, a significant investment in the physical envelope of our buildings, in addition to the important goal of connectivity for young people, but really all families who reside in public housing.
Okay.
I would just like to make a comment also on that. I had a stroke, and I'm very much in favor of education. When they built the charter school, Harlem Children's Zone charter school in my development, a lot of people didn't want that either. But like I say, I'm very advocate about education. But by the same token, when you have these people that come in here and actually pleading for work to be done on various developments throughout the 5 boroughs, and it seems like since I've been on this board, there's a concentration. I understand about Sandy, but there's a concentration on just Mott Haven, like the gentleman said, Red Hook, the Rockaways. I understand that. But by the same token, you have other buildings, other developments that need work done on them. And yeah, I would take offense too. $10 million when you got leaky roofs, but you want people to pay their rent every month, but you don't want to give them the satisfaction of ramps for the seniors, of buildings that are deteriorating. So are we really in the business of preserving housing? Or are we just saying that? Because you know what? People are tired of hearing about the transparency and all of this crap, including me as a board member. We need to do more for all of the developments in all of the 5 boroughs. And the ones that need the attention the most, that's what we should be concentrating on. Thank you.
We may move on with the general manager's report.
Which is apropos.
It was very apropos, sir.
If I could, Chair.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
To
morning.
dovetail the GM report within the chair's report on how we're doing with the overall goals of NYCHA, but specifically around operations and recognizing to the board members' recognition how it is a core function of what we do as a landlord, recognizing that maintenance and repairs is something that almost begins with maintenance and repairs as a recognition of what our core role is as a landlord, and to look at a really fundamentally redesigning how we do things using common sense as the guiding principle. So with that, we have developed 2 major, under the heading of operational initiatives, we have 2 major programs. They actually feed on each other. The initiatives that has been created under the optimal property management operating model, we've actually now augmented a set of specific activities that we're looking to align our procedures. What we find is that, as you know, we've got issues around aging buildings and funding issues, et cetera, that we actually have a very difficult time, wrestling with getting more money from the federal government, et cetera, and looking at how we can deal with our capital plan. But we do have the opportunity and the responsibility to look at how we do business, to do business in a way that actually reflects the needs of our residents and customer service. So in that, we have developed this optimum approach. And you've heard this before, but it's just a recognition of the 4 major activities and considerations within this approach. Collaboration with residents, engagement, making sure that the residents and resident leaders are at the table and in a position of assisting and not just meeting, but also engaging about policy development at the sites. Improving customer service, looking at things like performance metrics and clear standards about how we should be performing based on, again, on how private sector management performs. We're no longer looking at ourselves just as a government property management entity, but a property management entity, and looking at those types of metrics. And new ways to do work, which is fundamentally recognizing the importance that decision-making needs to happen at the site. Empowering the resident managers and the property managers to have the budget authority, to have the authority around hiring and firing, the authority around buying equipment and scheduling and planning. So again, this is a new approach to how we're doing business. And better financial modeling that we are now tied to the HUD modeling around how we are doing project-based budgeting and accounting, but also tailoring it so it's bottom up. It's not top down. Decisions aren't made from the general managers down, but from the property manager up to reflect what the needs are per site. 18 sites have been identified, Bronx, Manhattan, and Brooklyn for the Optimum pilot. A recognition that this pilot, we're now calling for basically another 18 months worth of pilot, but we're not waiting for the good ideas we're not waiting for the end of this model to start to replicate. The hope is to go scalable as quickly as possible on this idea that we have to empower our property managers to take more responsibility. Under the metrics, we're developing a balanced scorecard, something that we will look to have available online in September. Why it's balanced is it's not just looking at how we're doing financially, it's now looking at how we're doing in terms of all the considerations around management, how we're dealing with budget versus actual on a monthly basis, overtime, how we're doing our rent collection, how we're doing our occupancy standards, customer service, how quickly are we dealing with work orders, resident assessments, annual reviews. Internal processes, again, looking at service time as the new big deliverable, not necessarily how many work orders out there, but how quickly can we respond to work orders. And stakeholder learning and development, recognizing how important it is for our environments to be safe for our workers and for our residents, and having the kind of training and the kind of staff support to make that possible. Again, to augment and to dovetail into the OpMom strategies, we've developed a series of initiatives. We're calling it Fix It Forward, and it's really a dramatic overhaul of how we do business. For example, we're now looking at real-time repairs. Minor repairs will occur during an apartment inspection instead of during multiple visits. For example, the current system is folks would come in, do the inspection, say, we'll come back in a week or two to actually do the work. We will now be looking at doing the inspection and having the kind of materials and expertise so that as work orders and work items are identified, those works can be done on site while the resident's still home, so there's not a necessarily need for them to come back a second time just for those repairs. We're looking at real-time dispatching. When our workers are out in the field, not having to come back with a piece of paper and say, what's my next assignment, but to be radio dispatched and say, by the way, since the time that you've been dispatched at this site, we've now recognized another kind of repair item that needs to happen. Please go do that and record the time and the work that you've done to make that work. Our next, our NYCHA app, we're now being in the final pieces of beta testing. I understand that it's now available on Apple. They're doing the whole Apple app, where we think we're only about another 30 days away from having that available to our residents to help to create, submit, view, and reschedule, and update inspections and maintenance service requests through this electronic tool that you can do on your telephone or your cell phone. The one call, for too long, we've looked at identifying work projects that we're doing by a series of work orders without recognizing that it's one project. Using a tub surround as an example, there could be 4 or 5 different trades are involved in tub surround, and the sequencing of that could be whenever it gets done. We're now looking at it as this is a job, what's it take to get this job done, and how quickly and how well can we coordinate all those trades to make it happen. So again, the resident isn't inconvenienced with a series of work items that are either out of sequence or they take longer than they need to get the work done. It was the chair mentioned in terms of our capital activities, particularly around the roofs, but the roofs is really an example of how we can actually tie how we spend our capital money to decrease our work orders. Where if we fix the roof as a capital activity, then we will decrease the responses we need to do in work orders around mold, mildew, leaky roofs, etc. That's the type of approach that we're looking at fundamentally, recognize back to common sense. If you can fix something on the big level, it'll have an impact on the smaller levels. And enhancing the performance measures, we're really looking to reorient our metrics and reporting to the total time to complete the entire repair. So again, it's something that again, it's a common sense. Folks just want to know how quickly can they get to my item and how quickly will it get done. So we're reconfiguring how we're doing our reporting accordingly. Finally, just in terms of how we're doing with OpMom generally, 11 of the 18 target sites, we have seen that there's been some service level improvements around maintenance and emergency responses, and that there's been apartment turnaround and prep time because it's had dramatic improvements. We still have a long way to go. There are challenges still in the Manhattan and Bronx OpMom sites, and across the board, there's a need for a fresh look at resident engagement as a goal and customer service as a goal. And along those lines, I'm meeting with the TAs within the next 2 weeks at those sites to get a better understanding about what they think we need to do to improve those 2 critical items.
Patterson is one of them.
And Patterson's one, right? That board completes the report of the general manager.
I have a few things. In the NYCHA app, in the one call, when we call in, is it necessary to ask for the social security number of the resident? That's currently happening now, when they try to put in their own tickets. I think that's something that should be taken off of that request.
Last 4 digits. Last 4 digits of the SSN being asked for, not the full SSN.
Is that now? Because,
Yes.
oh, okay, as of now, because recently they were asking, prior, they were asking for the entire social security number so that they can input their own work ticket. Is that correct?
That was, the act was never live before.
Well, the CCC.
CCC might have been asked.
Right, exactly.
I'm not sure if CCC would have.
Okay.
But, okay.
Initially, it was the full social security number because you had to use that as an identifier to ensure that we had the resident of the apartment. But after concerns were raised, we worked with IT and it is only the last 4 digits.
Okay, that's one. Second, when you were talking about real-time repairs, is that to say that whoever goes to make the repairs will now not only have the initial work ticket, but they will also create the child tickets themselves and then let the resident know when the work is going to be done?
Correct, whatever. They'll be going to the site with the outstanding tickets that the resident has already identified as need. They'll be there, identify any additional needs, and correct as much as they possibly can while they're there. And starting with the ones that were pre-identified by the resident.
So at the tail end of this, if they find something when they're currently repairing something, are they going to initiate, they meaning the staff, are they going to initiate the work ticket themselves through the management office?
Correct. At the time, they actually have the handheld devices that the inspection unit has. They'll be creating the tickets to be repaired. They will do as much as they possibly can with the tools and resources they currently have. If it's beyond their resources, they will schedule it for the skilled trades or a follow-up.
That's good, that's good. It takes a lot of pressure off the resident this way. They know more or less when it's happening, because we have issues there, and I'm kind of glad that it's working out this way. Once we put it into effect, I hope and pray that this will resolve a lot of those particular issues.
Yeah, well, Brian Clark and myself had a chance to take a look at some of the sites and some of the workers there, and it's amazing that the workers and the residents are embracing this. So it's something that we really do feel a fundamental shift in how we do business.
And just one thing on the app, we're starting with a small sample first of NYCHA employee/residents, just so you know. So it's about 2,800 folks who will have access to that initially. We're going to do some beta tests. Is that right, Bob? Do some testing, et cetera. Make sure we've sort of ironed out all of the bugs, et cetera, and then there'll be a rollout to by borough. Starting, or early next year. So I just want to be clear that, on September 1, that there isn't going to be an app for everyone, but we're going to start, make sure we get it right, and then roll it out by geography after that.
One question, how many sites are you are starting with on the NYCHA app, you said?
It's not sites, it's actual people. It's about 2,800 NYCHA employees who are also residents.
I'd like to ask a question about the skilled trades.
I'm sorry. I think
I didn't know he
Mr.
was-
Gonzalez, I think he still had did you have two other things you said?
Well, you answered it with that, because this way, when the NYCHA app kicks in, with everything else in place, I hope it does what we expect it to do. And that was the reason why I was asking.
And so I think the point of going small initially, smaller, or small for us, is to make sure that all of those synergies across the various systems are working well, right? So we're not just putting out a piece of technology that isn't connected to our work order systems, et cetera.
Okay. Good.
I just wanted to bring up a point about the skilled trades, because in talking to some of the managers, they said that they don't have supervisor over skilled trade people, like if they have to come in and do plastering, attendance or whatever. So now with this real-time thing that we're talking about and discussing now, who will be supervising the skilled trade workers if they have to come into a tenant's department to do the work?
Yeah, it will be in the outmom, the property manager's responsibility. In the long term, it will be. Right now, this is really where we're at right now. That's the issue we're wrestling with the most as we speak. We are hoping that in this third quarter we will sort of resolve some of those larger issues. But you're right, that's where we're at right now.
Okay.
Looking at because there's a smaller amount of skilled trades to be spread across. So how do you do that in a decentralized manner is something we're wrestling with right now, but we're confident we can actually fix it.
Thank you.
Can I just make a comment? I want to address my comments to the remarks of Mr. Myers. Mr. Myers? Mr. Myers? I want to address a comment to you. The listing of developments, Patterson was one of the OPMOM developments.
Right, that's correct.
Okay. The OPMOM managers are supposed to be able to make decisions at your building or development level. I mean, things like cutting grass, your manager should be in charge of that. Your tenant association president, if she's walking around like you, or he, whoever it may be, and they see grass is not being cut, they should be saying something to the managers about why isn't the grass cut in our development. One more point, and I'm going to stop. OPMOM, I have asked that not only do you train your managers on how to run their development and make decisions, but you also need to parallel that with your tenant association leaders so that they work hand in glove. And some of the problems that you list here, your managers should be able to take care of those with the urgence of your tenant association president. Somebody's dropping the ball.
Yeah, so people are gonna be available, no, people are gonna be available if you'd like after the meeting to talk.
Exactly.
We need to move forward with the agenda. And just as a process point, members of the public are welcome to make comments at the outset of the meeting within the 3-minute time frame, just so that we can ensure that we're getting to all of our agenda items within the prescribed time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Horthes to keep us moving. Thank you.
So we are ready to proceed with today's calendar. We will start with item number 1.
Good morning, Richard Couch, EVP Finance, Chief Financial Officer. I'll be presenting item numbers 1 and 2. I am requesting authorization to award the authority's $25 million public officials liability insurance policy to National Union Fire Insurance Company of Pittsburgh. This is in excess of the authority's self-insured retention of $500,000. This policy also includes a $10 million sublimit for employment practices liability coverage. Public officials liability insurance coverage provides insurance for errors, misstatements, omissions, neglect, or breach of duty. The insurance covers board members, officers, employees, volunteers, and audit members while acting on behalf of the authority. Employment practices liability coverage protects the authority for loss arising from actual or alleged acts and/or behaviors such as wrongful dismissal, harassment, and discrimination. The term of the policy is for a term of 1 year commencing August 1st, 2015, and continuing through July 31st, 2016, at a premium cost of $279,000. With that, I request authorization to award the Public Officials Liability Insurance Program to National Union Fire Insurance Company. Thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, I just want to note that I'm going to recuse myself from this item because of a potential conflict.
So noted. Thank you.
Item number 2, I'm requesting authorization to award the authority's general liability insurance program policies at a premium cost of $4,294,154. The policies will be provided by 5 separate companies and 5 separate layers, with each insurer providing successive levels of coverage to reach the program limits. The insurance companies are Gemini Insurance Company, Lloyd's of London, XL Insurance America, United States Fire Insurance Company, and Federal Insurance Company. The general liability insurance program policies provide insurance coverage for torts above the authority's $1 million self-insured retention in the amount of $100 million per occurrence and $125 million in the aggregate. This includes $100 million in automobile liability. The program premium of $4,294,154 is $54,000 less than the expiring program. All policies will have a 1-year term commencing on August 1st, 2015, and continuing through July 31st, 2016. With that, I request your approval to award the renewal general liability insurance program as described.
Questions? Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Louis Ponce, Senior Vice President of Operations for Support Service. I'll be presenting item number 3. This item is requesting authorization to enter into a requirement contract with ALB Industrial Supplies Incorporated for the purchase and delivery of Spence Engineering heating supplies. These components are needed for the repairs of our hot water generators and will be installed by Authority heating plant personnel. ALB shall furnish and deliver these items to any Authority development or the Long Island City warehouse as requested. The term of this contract is 3 years, and it shall not exceed $1,409,340.
Questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you. My name is Brian Clark. I'm the Senior Vice President of Operations for Property Management, and I'll be presenting items 4 through 9. Item 4 is a 3-year requirement contract for the replacement of gas ranges in our apartment units. We use this contract as needed for when we need to make full-scale replacements and also for preparing apartment units for occupancy. So authorization is requested to award this requirement contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, T.C. Richards & Son, Long Island City, Long Island Corporation, for an amount not to exceed $11,320,200. The first lowest bidder, Home Depot USA Incorporated, was deemed non-responsive for non-compliance with the requirements of the contract specifications.
New, right?
These are new.
Okay.
Brand new.
Thank you.
And we are not, are we purchasing on bulk? Are we purchasing, how do we sort of manage both the supply versus
So
the need?
these are ordered as needed. So we keep, on hand at a development 1.5% of the apartment unit total at that development as replacements for refrigerators and stoves. So they're not stored, over in Long Island City,
Right.
and they're not stored in warehouses on our properties.
Okay, thank you.
Item 5, correct myself. This is a 1-year contract, and this is for a complete replacement of stoves and refrigerators at Marble Hill houses, St. Mary's Park houses, Rutgers houses, and Frederick East Sandhills. Authorization is requested to award this requirement contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, T.C. Richards & Son, Long Island Corporation, for an amount not to exceed $2,867,196. The first lowest bidder, Home Depot USA Inc., was deemed non-responsive for non-compliance with requirements of the contract specifications. Okay.
Question?
Item 6. So this is a 3-year requirement contract for mortise locks and locksmiths. This is for repair and replacement of our apartment entrance doors and stairwell doors, as well as all the various doors that we have at the Housing Authority. So we are recommending, authorization is requested to award this requirement contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, APR Industries, for an amount not to exceed $1,176,413.87. And we order these as needed, so the supplies are drop shipped at the developments, and they can also be stored in Long Island City.
Question. Are these locks consistent with the new doors that we are installing as part of our sort of security approach, or are these?
No, these are for the apartment entrance. So
This is for the apartment entrance?
Yeah, it's for the traditional key, not the key fob, electronic access.
Okay, so not the building entrance doors?
Correct. But for, doorknobs and locks, that's for, say, for the stairwells, and also for the, for the apartment entrances.
Okay, and just remind me, everyone, for the key fob entry doorways, is that only at the front door of a development, or does it extend to stairwell access as well?
And so we have actually we have intelligence at the stairwell doors to say whether or not the doors are closed or not, but it's only at the access points where we have the key fobs and the proximity sensors.
Okay.
So for example, someone brought up Odd Haven. They have 2 entrances into the building. So both those entrances have one has the intercom, but both have the proximity readers for the electronic access control. But the stairwell doors only have the intelligence probe, say whether or not the door is closed.
But not the tops, okay. Thank you. Questions? Please.
Item 7, this is a requirement contract for lumber. It's a 3-year contract. We use this as needed. It's drop shipped to our developments, or also can be delivered to Long Island City, and this is to support our carpentry operations. Authorization is requested to award this contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, 128-13 Rockaway Boulevard Corp., DBA Ozone Park Lumber, for an amount not to exceed $1,489,414.49. The first lowest bidder, Home Depot USA Incorporated, was deemed non-responsive for non-compliance with requirements of the contract specifications. All right, so the next item, this is a sole bidder item. This is why it's becoming in front of the board. This is a requirement contract, once again, for sandbags as needed. This is to support our masonry operations. This is materials that our bricklayers will use. So we are requesting authorization to award requirement contract to the sole responsive and responsible bidder, Mensch Mill and Lumber Corp., for an amount not to exceed $171,672.75.
Questions? No?
Okay, and item 9. Once again, this is a requirement contract to support our maintenance operations. This is for parts for when we have to repair our compactor chute doors that are in our hallways. So we are requesting authorization to award this requirement contract to the sole responsive and responsible bidder, H.C. Oswald Supply Company, Inc., for an amount not to exceed $935,714.34.
I have a question. Very simple.
Yes, sir.
I know that you're looking at repair, but is there ever a repair that we just need to change the entire hopper?
Hopper door?
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And this will take care of that as well?
I'm going to have to get back to you whether that's going to be all the components that would for a complete replacement.
Okay.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Executive Vice President for Administration. Calendar item 10 seeks the board's authorization to enter into a 5-year agreement covering the period October 1st of 2015 through September 30th of 2020 with Wex Bank for the provision of fuel for our fleet of on-road vehicles and horticultural equipment for an amount not to exceed $14,571,300. To retain the needed fuel services, on April 24th of 2015, NYCHA issued a request for proposals. 7 vendors viewed the RFP on our website and 3 attended our proposals conference, but only Wex submitted a proposal. An evaluation committee comprised of 7 representing departments reviewed the submission and rated the proposal on 5 criteria: ability to perform the required services, experience in performing said services, quality of technical and customer support to be provided, number and location of fueling stations, and cost. Out of a possible 100 points, the Wex proposal received an average score of 87.4. Wex will provide NYCHA with regular and diesel fuel for its fleet of vehicles and horticultural equipment via Sunoco gasoline stations. Authorized NYCHA employees will be provided activated gas cards and PIN numbers which will allow them to fuel vehicles and/or 5-gallon gasoline cans. Wex will offer NYCHA users a 3% discount on all gasoline purchases at Sunoco stations. Although we will experience the highest available discount, and there are some 70 Sunoco stations across the 5 boroughs, we recognize that travel distance to the closest Sunoco gas station may sometimes be inconvenient for the vehicle operator, development, or department. Therefore, this agreement also offers a universal fleet card program, which enables a universal card holder to purchase gasoline at other than Sunoco stations. This program offers a purchase price discount of 1.6%, and when the universal card holder purchases gasoline from a Sunoco station, the discount increases to 2.6%. Authorizing NYCHA to enter into this agreement with Wex Bank will allow the authority to maximize fuel savings while at the same time allow us flexibility when purchasing fuel. We have contracted with Wex Banks for the past 4 years and find them to be responsive and flexible, and their overall performance to be satisfactory. You should be aware that the vendor name check process is still ongoing. Assuming the board authorizes this item, you can rest assured that the contract will not be awarded until the VMC clearance is received. Thank you for your consideration.
Question. Can we transfer or terminate this contract at our
Absolutely.
discretion?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Ray Ribaro, Executive Vice President for Capital Projects.
Good morning.
Good
We'll be
morning.
presenting items 11 through 34. If I could.
It's a good thing. It means lots of work.
It's a good thing, and I actually just wanted to point that out. We actually looked back, and as far back as we can tell, CPD has never presented to the board 24 items. The value of the work that's being presented to you today is about $350 million worth of work in all 5 boroughs, and all this is going on while we're delivering the bond, while we're working on the mayor's initiative to address safety and security. So I just wanted to take a minute and quick shout out to the Secretary's office who helped us actually get all of these onto the calendar. The folks in CPD and design and the program unit and the Sandy unit that actually have been spending weeks and months actually getting this stuff ready. And then, of course, Vivian Figueroa and Shakima Knight from my office who actually, it's a huge lift for a normal calendar. Having 24 items, some of which bids were only opened on Friday. To get them onto the calendar this quickly, I just wanted to publicly acknowledge all those folks for their hard work.
Thank you.
So with that, item number 11 is requesting the board's authorization to reject all bids associated with a requirements contract for apartment restoration related to the Sandy Recovery Program. This particular project is another one of the requirements contracts that we have went out to bid with to assist in the permanent restoration of apartments affected by Sandy. In this particular case, the bid prices came in almost double what we expected them to be, and therefore we didn't think that was a fair price. We're requesting the board's authorization to reject all bids. You may recall the board has already approved several other contracts to do the same work, so we're simply going to do this work under those existing contracts at a more reasonable price to the authority. Item number 12 is requesting the board's authorization to approve 5 special inspection contracts for a combined cap of $50 million. As with all of our projects, when we file for DOB permits, depending on the type of work, the Department of Buildings requires special inspections or controlled inspections to be filed, a separate entity that looks at very specific items, including structural steel or masonry. And so this contract will allow us, it's a 2-year term with a possible 1-year extension, and it will allow us to reach out to any one of these 5 firms, get a cost proposal to provide special inspections as we progress with the work in the capital plan. This will be used for the entire portfolio, for any work that's covered by federal funds, any work that's done with city funding, or any other work that's funded via the Sandy Recovery.
Question, is this also sort of emergency related work? So, gas outs, et cetera. Or do you need this inspection firm, these inspection firms?
Generally
as well?
not.
No, okay.
Generally, this is associated with planned
Just
work
planned
that
work,
you
okay.
file a permit with DOB, and then they want to see certain specific certifications that are checked off. So generally not associated with emergency.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So this expenditure is just for inspections. This doesn't actually get any of the work accomplished.
That's correct. This is actually just for controlled inspections or special inspections. We have, so for a typical project, you would have a contractor, which we come to the board with and get approved. We would have an inspector. In some cases, that's NYCHA staff. In some cases, that's a construction manager. And then, depending on the scope of work, you could have a special inspection that's required. It's not a full-time thing. They would show up on the job site. When you're doing, say, structural steel, they would take a test, and then they would go away. But it is not the actual construction, it's just for the special inspections.
How do they charge? Is it an hourly fee or is it a by job fee? How do people charge for it?
It's an hourly rate, and it depends on the certification that's required. So there's specialties with regards to steel, and those folks would be at one rate. There's a specialty for mortar and brick, they would be at a different rate. And so there are different, I think there's 103 different classifications that DOB has, and they all have a different rate.
I'm sorry.
No.
And just it's fascinating. Great. So why do we pay for that as opposed to the contractor? Why isn't it built into his or her contract?
That's a very good question. The DOB specifically requires that the
A
owner do
separate
it,
person.
so that there is no
Collusion.
There's no way to, right, sort of avoids the conflict that a contractor, of course, is going to want to hire an inspector that is going to say everything's okay.
So this is something new that you're starting to do now?
It's
Or has
actually
it been
a-
done all the time?
No, it's a Department of Buildings requirement. It's been a requirement for several years. Historically, we've done this not through a specific special inspections contract, but through one of our other existing contracts with an AE firm. Many of these firms are architectural or engineering firms that we may have had a contract with anyway, and so we would give them specific task orders for this work. But because it is specialized, we wanted to go out for a separate RFP, and some of the firms that are on here are firms that we've never done business with, but are specialists in this particular field.
So there is a scenario where an existing AE contractor could have the specialty in-house. Do you?
Yes, that is possible as well, correct.
We don't necessarily need all that money at the point. We're not going to do questions at this point, only in the beginning part of the.
So no, this is in essence a requirements contract. It's capped at $50 million. We are not using $50 million.
No, I understand.
What we in
Yeah.
essence do is take, special inspections generally cost about 1% of the total project cost. And generally, when we progress a project, we would take that 1% from the project funding and apply it to this contract. So this will get funded piecemeal through the rest of the portfolio as we deliver work.
So that was a helpful explanation, because I thought 50 million out of 350 million was a significant piece of all the work to be done was going just to the inspections, but.
This is just, this in essence is a.
Maximum.
It's a capacity.
Yeah, right, okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Very helpful. Thanks.
Item number 13, requesting the board's authorization to award a construction management agreement to Jacobs Project Management in the amount of $13,237,579. These services are to provide construction management services for the sandy recovery work planned at Coney Island Site 8, O'Dwyer, and Surfside Gardens. I should point
I
out
have
that.
a question on that. I thought we were getting FEMA money for these developments with the hurricane fund.
Yeah, all
But
of-
I'm seeing here that you're also using capital, mixed finances, and all of that for that. So I thought federal government money, FEMA money, was supposed to be used for FEMA projects. But now you're saying that you're going to include all these other capital and the mixed finances along with that also?
The box that's checked off on the resolution in terms of where the funding is going to come from is in essence a box that says we could use any potential funding source for this particular contract. So this project will be funded by FEMA, could be by FEMA dollars directly, it could be insurance proceeds, it could be CDBG money, it could potentially have to be some federal dollars. So that particular box that's checked off is simply checking off that. I think one of the items on there is also other. It's basically saying that it's not limiting the potential funding to one particular source. It's allowing us to use any funding source to pay for this work. But it all will be reimbursed by FEMA, by the Sandy Recovery Program.
I thought you couldn't FEMA money was only supposed to be used. I didn't think you could reimburse money back to FEMA from other sources.
You can.
Really?
Yes, we can.
So, but in other words, FEMA money for other projects, like Far Rockaway and all of those, that's specifically supposed to be used for FEMA projects?
You can only use FEMA money for Sandy recovery work, but you can also use other funding sources, right? One of the reasons that we're progressing with these projects, with these contracts now, is so that when the FEMA money does come, we can immediately start. We don't have to go out for an RFP and come back to the board, right? These contracts will be ready to go the second that we get FEMA dollars.
So if I could, I think I know where your mind is going, right? Which is to say, we're using potentially other sources so that we can jumpstart the work now. When we get the actual resources from FEMA, we can reimburse ourselves for any other non-FEMA source that was utilized in this project. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I also would add to that, right, this is a $13 million contract. This is to staff the overall management and inspection of the Sandy recovery program at these 3 developments. That's going to happen over a period of time, right? 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, whatever the construction duration is. So we're not spending $13 million right out of the gate for this particular project. They're coming on board, they're going to help us review the plans, they're going to make sure that everything's, so there will be some minor expenditures associated with this, but really there will be no major expenditures until FEMA gives us the money and we enter into a construction contract. Good. Item number 14 is a similar contract for construction management services on the Sandy Recovery Program, and this one is proposed to be awarded to Lero Program and Construction Managers in the amount of $12,939,236, and this is for all of the, to help manage all of the construction work associated with the Sandy Recovery Program at Red Hook East and West. Item number 15, requesting the board's authorization to reject all bids associated with the contract that went out to bid to replace the steam convectors and distribution piping at WSUR Brownstones. We had estimated that this contract was about $840,000. The lowest bidder came in at $3.3 million, significantly higher than our estimate, and therefore we're requesting that we reject all bids. We've met with property management to discuss the urgency for this particular work. And there's an indication that it is not critical to occur at this point. So we're looking to repackage this as potentially a bigger project when we do the rest of the heating infrastructure at this particular development. Yes.
So that I won't ask later, I'll ask now, once the bid comes in. When you say convectors, steam convectors, you're not talking about the traditional ones, we're not talking about the new ones that were, which particular ones are we talking about? Because the brownstones are very different than our traditional buildings.
Correct.
So hence, we had an upgrade, and we had the ones that go along the board. I don't think those are the ones you're talking about for the brownstones, are you?
Generally not in the
Okay.
brownstones. It's generally a different type.
Okay.
I would have to look at it specifically, look at the plan specifically, but generally you're correct. The brownstones are generally different.
Did we construct, how did NYCHA come to own brownstones? Did we construct these or buy them? No, I'm just curious.
We inherited them.
We inherited a lot of these properties.
From the city. When the city was going through its fiscal crisis, we inherited a number of properties like this. And as, if I may, just as part of Next Generation NYCHA, we've sort of talked about really maximizing HUD programs to reposition those properties for affordability for those residents, but also to improve the quality of them. In total, there are about 14,000 that we identified all across the city. 14,000. And they represent about 20% of our capital costs and only 6% of our actual portfolio. So they're hugely expensive to both operate and maintain. And actually represent a pretty significant part of that capital need that $17 billion that we're talking about. A good portion of them are in these buildings.
So the city get these through like a foreclosure and an in-rem process? Is that how they originally got ownership of? Yeah, okay, got it.
Item number 16, requesting the board's authorization to approve a contract with AAH Construction Corp. in the amount of $1,454,125, and this is for upgrade of all of the play areas at Ingersoll houses. Item number 17 is requesting the board's authorization to award another contract to AAH Construction Corp. in the amount of $2,170,040. And this is for the conversion of existing vacant storefronts to office space for the East River Development Alliance, otherwise known as ERDA, at Queensbridge South Development.
Can I just make a note? I think East River, I think they've changed their name to Urban Upbound, so the reso should reflect that.
Okay.
The only question I had is, are we going to get rental on those properties?
Yeah,
or-
so I don't know the exact amount of rent, but we will have a lease with them, but I haven't been able to get what that amount
But
is.
yes, they will get.
Excuse me, Chair, what was the name that we just?
Urban Upbound. They used to be East River Development Alliance, and now it's Urban Upbound.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item number 18, requesting the board's authorization to approve a change order in the amount of $30,556 associated with a project that is replacing the boilers at 131 St. Nicholas Avenue. This particular contract was a $1.5 million contract that came before the board. We've completed all the work here. When DOB came to do their final inspection to give us the certificate of operation, they asked us to put in fire dampers in the existing ductwork. So in order to get the certificate of operation, we need to do that. The value of that work has been negotiated with Cordon Construction for a not to exceed amount of $30,556. Item number 19 is requesting the board's authorization to approve a contract increase, an increase of $11,483,937 associated with exterior restoration at various developments citywide. This particular contract is with Roma Scaffolding. It was originally approved by the board at about $23 million. You may recall we came to the board recently. We went out to bid with new contracts to do this same work. This is part of our sidewalk shed removal initiative, where we put up sidewalk shed in response to Local Law 11, do the construction, and then take the sidewalk shed down. We recently went out to bid for additional contracts. Those bids came in excessively high, so the board has already authorized us to reject those bids. This was an existing contract that we had in place where the contractor agreed that he would do additional work at his previous bid price, which is significantly better than the bid prices that we had gotten in the more recent bids. So we're requesting the board's authorization to approve that increase so that we continue doing this work at a more reasonable price. Item number 20 is requesting the board's authorization for another construction management agreement related to the Sandy Recovery Program. This one for the proposed Sandy Recovery work at Ocean Bay Apartments Bayside. This contract will be with Arcadis of New York, Inc., and the value of the contract is $11,177,639.94. Item number 21, requesting the board's authorization to increase the contract value with Shaw Environmental and Infrastructure Engineering of New York, PC, now known as CB&I. They are our program managers for the Sandy Recovery Program. They are assisting us in all of the FEMA negotiations and documentation, insurance, and CDBG funding, as well as the procurement and management of all of the architectural engineering and construction management firms that are assisting in the delivery of the program. The original contract was approved by the board as a $14 million contract, where we acknowledged that we would need to come back regularly to increase that contract value. We did that about a year ago, increased it by $18.6 million. We're now coming back and requesting an additional increase of $19.2 million to take us through July. This should take us through July of next year. And I should point out, all of this work is also FEMA, CDBG insurance eligible work. Item number 22, requesting the board's authorization to approve a contract with Navalis Contracting, the lowest bidder, for exterior restoration and roof replacement work at Parkside houses. The value of this contract is $33,113,151.10. This is for all the exterior brick facade repair and roof replacement at all the buildings at Parkside houses. I should point out that this particular project is part of the mayor's $100 million allocation to us this year for roof replacements. All of the roof replacement portion of this work will be funded from that $100 million. Item number 23 is requesting the board's authorization to award a contract to the Gordian Group, Inc. in the amount of $15 million. This is to provide job order contracting consulting services, otherwise known as job contracts. Job contracts are a very efficient way for us to deliver either smaller projects or projects with an undetermined scope. And so we issued an RFP for a firm to come in and help us provide those services, prepare those job contracts, and help manage those job contracts. The Gordian Group was the only firm that submitted a proposal. We've done work with the Gordian Group in the past. They are very well known in the industry for providing these services, and therefore we're requesting the board's authorization to award a contract with a maximum value of $15 million. Very similar situation in this particular contract. It is not, we don't pay them $15 million up front. They actually do the work for free. They put all of the contracts together. We go out to bid. Any work that we award through those job contracts, they get a percentage of that construction to pay for their services. Item number 24 is requesting the board's authorization to reject all bids associated with boiler room demolition at Coney Island and Coney Island Site 1B. This was a contract that we had gone out to bid to begin doing some of the Sandy recovery work. The bids actually in this particular case came in significantly lower than our estimate, and when we sat down with the contractor, we determined that the contractor actually did not get, there was an addendum issued while the project was out to bid, which added a significant amount of work. The contractor did not get that addendum, and therefore it wasn't reasonable for us to expect that the contractor could perform the work for 81% below our estimate, and therefore we're requesting the board's authorization to reject all bids. And we actually have gone ahead, because of the urgency of the Sandy Recovery Program, and rebid this project. And that is one of the items, an award of a contract to do this work is actually later on this calendar. Item number 25 and 26 are requesting the board's authorization to reject all bids associated with an electrical feeder replacement associated with Sandy Recovery in Brooklyn and Queens. We issued 3 contracts to start replacing the electrical feeder lines at all of the Sandy developments that were impacted. They are causing outages, regular outages at the Sandy affected developments. And this is work that we believe we can begin doing before all the rest of the permit work is in place. So we issued 3 separate contracts to do this work. Arc Systems Electric Corp. was the lowest bidder on all 3 contracts. We do not believe that ARC has the capacity to do all 3 contracts. So we're seeking to reject 2 of them, items number 25 and 26. And then award item number 27 to Arc Systems Electrical Corp. In the amount of $28,853,868.75.
So, just so I was talking, so there are 3 contracts here. You say they don't have the capacity to do all 3. They can only do 1. What happens to the work associated with the other 2?
This is a requirements type contract.
Okay.
So we got a bid price for the work. We can just do it
under this contract. But they don't have the capacity. So you think?
In terms of bonding capacity to do all of the work at the same time,
Okay.
there was a concern that they wouldn't be able to do all of that. So we may need to do
Come back with another. Okay.
Item number 28 is requesting the board's authorization to reject all bids associated with the proposed interior renovation at the Red Hook East Senior Center, formerly a child care center that's being converted into a senior center to replace the one that was damaged after Sandy. This particular project is being funded in part with the city council allocation. The estimated budget for this project was $2.6 million. The bids came in, the lowest bidder for this particular project came in at $4,333,000, which we thought was excessive. Therefore, we are requesting the board's authorization to reject all bids. We have a couple of options on how we want to proceed with this. We are going to try and see what the cost of this work will be with an upcoming job contract that I just spoke about, or we can look at talk about including this scope of work as part of the overall Sandy, some of the more major work that's going to be going on at Red Hook East and West, and see if that potentially would reduce the cost of this work.
So when do you think that you would have another contract or contractor?
So the Gordian Group contract, which hopefully you will approve today, will allow us to start putting together a job contract to do this type of work. We met with the Gordian Group a couple of days ago to kind of get a sense from them. They needed about a month to get that contract ready. So I would say that we would be able to go out to bid near the end of August. That would mean we would be coming to the board with a contract either late September or October with the contract.
And that project was told to the community that it would be completed in December.
Yes.
It doesn't look like it's going to happen.
It's not.
Well, they're up in arms, that's all I can tell you.
Understood.
So we'll have to work with you and our IntraGov to sort of work on communication.
I put out the fires all the time.
Well, thank you.
Item number 8, 29, oh my God, let's not go back to 8. Item number 29 is requesting the board's authorization to reject all bids similar project for the restoration of the child care center that was affected after Hurricane Sandy. This particular project we estimated was going to be a $1.8 million contract. The lowest bidder and the only bidder that submitted a bid for this particular work, the bid came in at over $6.8 million, so more than 3 times what we estimated the work to be. The approach for this particular project is going to be the same as the approach for the Red Hook East Senior Center. Item number 30 is requesting the board to approve a requirements contract for roofing replacement at various developments citywide. This particular contract went out to bid as a $30 million contract. The lowest bidder came in at $41.1 million to ARC Electrical and Mechanical Contractors Corp. ARC has done projects for us in the past, and they're a good contractor. This particular requirements contract, we actually issued 4 requirements contracts at the same time for different values to try and attract different contractors. And the scope of work for this will be to do roof replacements as we get additional funding. These contracts will be used to do the balance of the roofs that were funded by the mayor in this year's allocation, and we are now set up for any future allocations. As soon as we get that money, we can immediately begin work through these particular contracts. So item number 30, as I said, was a $41.1 million contract with ARC Electrical. Item number 31 was, we thought, a $50 million project. Bids came in at $68.7 million. Again, a roof requirements contract also proposed to be awarded to ARC Electrical and Mechanical Contractors Corp. We checked with them. They do have the capacity and they do have the bonding authority to do all of this work. Item number 32 is the third of those items, those contracts. This one was we thought a $15 million contract. Bids came in at $17.5 million. We're proposing award of the third contract, that $17.5 million, to Pope Contracting Inc.
Can I just make a comment on Pope? I was reading where they had been subcontractors before.
Yes, they have.
15 subcontracts, and now they have done 5 contracts. So that means that where they have grown to the capacity where they can now become the primary contractor, and this is a women's-owned business.
It is a women's-owned business. It is, some of that is a result of their growth, but quite frankly, some of it is a result of our former CM Build program, where our construction managers held the contract, and then they actually went out and hired contractors to do the work as quote-unquote subcontractors. So I know Pope was involved in that initiative as well. So, but they are a small women-owned business that is growing and actually competing for a lot of our work now.
Good.
So Ray, so the 3 contracts here, our estimation is anywhere between 10 to 20% off of what is coming in as the lowest bid. Mm-hmm. What do you attribute that to?
And that we're trying to look at that right now and see if we can't get a little bit more detail on it, but I would say it looks like we're just not keeping up with the market. Right now, the market is flooded with work. Lots of people doing Sandy work all over the place. We met with building trades the other day. The union halls are almost all empty, right? So everybody's working. That makes the bid prices go up. We've talked to folks at SCA and other city agencies. They're experiencing the same exact thing. So moving forward, we're looking to add some additional, when we do our estimates, to try and sort of be a little bit more conservative when it comes to estimating the market.
And what about just the actual bid documents? I know you went through a process of sort of value engineering them, making sure that they were as precise as possible so that there wouldn't be such a gap in what we are estimating versus what's actually coming in. Is that something what did that process yield, and do you feel like you need to do it again?
I think, for some of those projects, the results are much better because they're project specific, right? So that's easier to do when, as an example, you have a specific development, you're doing specific work. You can really go through that detailed scope with a fine-tooth comb and add more and more detail that will make your bid prices, that will refine your bid prices. In this particular case, these contracts are all requirements contracts. So there is a risk on the contractor side. He doesn't know if we're going to give him a 500 square foot roof or a 50,000 square foot roof. And there are obviously, there are cost differences with doing that. So
she's building in those numbers.
Correct.
And the implication for us to have project-specific contracts would be time
and resource. So you have to do more formal design. That means that our Office of Design has got more work. By doing it as a requirements contract, you don't have a specific design that has to go out to bid. As I said, if somebody made an allocation today, we can immediately take that allocation and start doing that work using these contracts. The prices are already set, and it's sort of a menu of items. We can say we want one of those and 3 of those and 6 of those, and the price is already there. So it's a trade-off between price and time.
Thank you.
Item number 33 is requesting the board's authorization to approve a contract with Marek Mechanical, Inc. In the amount of $6,511,250. This is for the boiler room demolition at various developments in Brooklyn. This particular project actually came in slightly under our estimate of $7.3 million. Marek is a firm that we've done extensive work with in the past, a very good contractor. This is the contract that I referred to earlier that we're requesting that you reject to make room for us to award this particular contract. It went out to rebid, and this is the one I referred to was opened up just on Friday. So we're recommending award to Marek Mechanical. Item number 34 is requesting that the board approve a contract with NYCHA Electric Company, Inc. In the amount of $1,695,000. That was almost exactly what our estimate was. Another minority-owned firm, new to NYCHA, never done work with us before, but has done work for other city agencies in the MTA, and had very good reference checks. And so we're recommending award of this contract to NYCHA. Both item number 33 and 34 are sandy recovery work, and we expect to start this work soon after the board approves them, so that we can start to show that we are actually doing work in the sandy affected developments, and this work is eligible to be funded with that same FEMA CDBG insurance proceeds. That's it.
Questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, 34 items were presented for board approval. Do I have a motion to accept all 34 items, specifically noting that item number 1, Board Member Cephas recused himself?
I motion that we accept the items and with the recusal included.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't approve of all of them.
Do you want to identify which ones you need to go?
No, I know you're all gonna do what you wanna do, But I don't approve of using other sources of income for, that y'all got $3 billion for, to do work on these, like sandy things. That's just my opinion. I don't approve of that, because you got other developments in all of the 5 boroughs that need stuff. Lady come in here talking about the ramps for senior citizens. You know, so I just think that the wealth should be spread around. And you're taking money from capital, you're taking money from other sources, you know, to jumpstart something that you already have the money
Okay,
for.
so which items are you approving and which items are you abstaining from?
I'm not approving of any of them where you're taking funding from other sources. Those items that we have here that is being funded, the money's coming from other sources, those are the ones that I'm not voting on.
So items 11 through 34.
Yes.
You are abstaining from,
Yes.
or you are voting no on.
Are
No.
these the Sandy-related ones?
No, yeah, because
No, we understand the reason. I just
Okay.
we need to just to be
We just need to be clear
process
which ones.
point.
'cause I need to
11,
know.
I think it would be 11, 12, 13, 14, 19, 20, 21, 23, 27, 30, 31, 32, 33, and 34.
Thank you.
Okay.
Duly noted.
Okay, so we still have to just a motion to accept those items with the recusal as well as the vote of-
Abstention of Ms. Lewis, correct.
All right.
Do you
Okay,
motion?
I make the motion that we accept the items with recusal from Mr. Cephas and the abstentions from Ms. Lewis.
I second.
That's what I was.
She's
gonna say.
rejecting,
She's
yes.
rejecting.
She's
it,
rejecting.
Yeah, no, you have to do it.
Mhm.
So state, you have to state it again.
Okay, I make the motion that we accept the items with the recusal from Mr. Cephas and the rejection by Ms. Lewis.
Thank you.
And I second.
Thank you. All
All
in
vote.
favor, please?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move that the members be authorized to meet in committee and executive sessions today and on any adjourned or rescheduled future date to discuss tenancy termination proceedings, grievances, real estate, and financial matters concerning the authority.
Thank
I
you.
second.
Does it have to
Aye.
be moved? Does it have to?
Yes.
I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
second.
Thank
All
you.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.